Hello, beautiful people. Good evening.
What up?
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Oh, no. It's not.
Yes, it is.
It is. I have no idea what day of the week
It is Wednesday, my dudes, and we are in Ottawa. We are live.
They know we're in Ottawa.
I'm Rob St. Clair. That's Everett Delorme. They probably know that, too, by looking at the screen. Welcome to day 2 of VNL Week 2. We have now seen every team that is here in our half of the world. We've now seen them each once, and we have some takes.
Some teams look good. Some teams don't.
Do not. Yep, we have some takes about all of them now that we've seen them once. And now that we've seen them once, it's going to be really fun to see them play each other now again the rest of the week. But we know that there are games starting in the Japan half of the world in like 10 minutes. But come on, it's Iran versus Brazil. You can skip the first set of that or whatever.
Yeah. Or you can just put it on mute because it's not like. Never mind.
I know where you're going with that.
I'm not saying another word.
I think this should be a quick one.
I've had to hold my tongue now both nights.
I think this should be a quick one. We can start off by chronologically the first game that we saw, which was Serbia versus the Netherlands. We do not have to talk about the first 2 sets.
We don't have to talk about this entire game, to be perfectly honest.
We do because of the way that it ended.
Pavle Peric was a baller, but man, talk about a crumbling team. Talk about a world of difference from last year to this year. Talk about a team that I thought was really on the rise pre-pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, and since then they have just really crumbled. Netherlands cannot figure it out. Even when they were up, they absolutely crumbled on serve receive, up 23-20, gave up a side out, and they got aced 3 times in a row by Pavle Peric. You can check out that clip online over on our Instagram, but
sick clip. 3 sick serves, including interrupted by a timeout.
Yeah.
So that was sick.
Which was sick, but man, just a lackluster performance on the Dutch side. I don't know what their team identity is other than shovel the ball to Namir.
That's the
problem. I don't know if they're a good serving team. I don't know if they're a good passing team. I don't know if they're a good blocking team. They did get 7 blocks today, which is all right. 3 of them coming from Fabian Plack. But I just don't know what this team has to offer. And on the other side of the net, you had a Serbian team who really stuttered in week number 1 and yet looked unified. Serbia loves coming to Ottawa. There is a very strong Serbian community here that has welcomed them over the years. They play well here. We know Kat very well, and
I forgot her younger sister's name.
Yeah, me too.
We met her last 2 nights ago, but
and her partner Dario as well. Like we know them well and how well they keep care. The Serbians love coming to Ottawa, and they seemed rejuvenated. Even Ivovic came over to you and gave you a big dap up while you were interviewing Podraskinen. The Serbians look revived here. Not the cleanest game of volleyball from them, but they got the 3-dong.
They did. I think you nailed about the Netherlands. They have no identity,
none, other
than number 14 in orange.
Yeah.
And this has been my critique about Namir and the Netherlands under Namir's regime, because he is the supreme leader, he is the dictator, he is the guy, he is the man, he calls all the shots. And I think even though he is incredible, I mean, what did he have tonight? 22 on 41% efficiency. If you put that up on any other team, you're winning the match, no 100%. Problem when you have a player that good. But I think that the identity that the Netherlands has established under Namir's leadership is a problem, because he's all they have. And everybody else on the roster knows that he's all they have, because everybody else on the roster knows that their role is to do nothing to get in his way.
Yep.
And I think in the long term, that is a huge problem that the Netherlands is going to have to do some deep soul searching to solve. This year, it's not going to matter. They are not relevant in the Olympic qualification picture. They don't deserve to be in the Olympics. Namir individually would be a perfectly good Olympian, and it would be fun to watch him there, but his team doesn't belong there, and this is the greatest team sport in the world.
But this is a good team. Right, let's not even talk about the fact that Benny Twinster isn't here because they're a bunch of stooges.
I do want to talk about that.
But because they're a bunch of stooges back in the Dutch offices, and they forgot to add him to not even to this weekend, to the extended
30-man roster.
You're telling me you've got 30 other people in the Netherlands before you could find Benny Twinstra? Goodness gracious.
A horrendous clerical error.
Goodness gracious.
I made the joke in the Discord today, hey, you guys know who the Netherlands really could have used in this match?
Yeah, Benny Twinstra. But to me, it doesn't come down to Namir. It has to come down to Piazza. If you're the head coach on this team, you need to dictate how you play, and you need to change things up.
I disagree.
But Absolutely. At a certain point, he needs to direct the team a little bit better. Maybe change something up. Like, get Vuta Termat in there. Like, he did start the third, but it wasn't enough. Like,
it was an outside hitter.
And it was an outside hitter, exactly. Like, I need to see something different from this Dutch team. Like, yes, you could point at Canada being like, Canada's just as reliant on Mar and Lepke as the Dutch are on Namir, but I feel like at least we have an identity around that. You know, that like when those two guys aren't producing, there's able to do something. Like, this Dutch team just doesn't have that, and it almost seems like they've thrown into the towel for this year.
I completely disagree with all that. This is not on Piazza. This is on Namir. Piazza's
the head coach.
No, he's not. Well, he is by
because,
name.
So that's exactly
he
it.
is by name.
But that's exactly it. They need someone who's going to come in and tell that team what to do.
That does not come from the head coaching position. That
Why not?
comes from the federation. That absolutely
No!
that comes from way. You don't think that that Piazza has not been empowered to tell Namir what to do. There is no chance Piazza is in the position to be able to or to be allowed to tell Namir what to do. There's no way.
So real quick, how we know, right? Like, based off conversations that we had last week in Arlington, and how we know how certain federations work. Do we think that the Dutch Federation has more power than like the USAV and Volleyball Canada to be able to tell their head coach of program? Because I'm telling you right now, if the USAV came down to Karch or John and they told them how to run things,
no chance.
And it's the exact same thing for Canada, right? I absolutely not. I do not think at all that the Dutch Federation is coming down to tell Piazza how to coach this team.
Oh, I think that they are.
I don't think at all. Like, we know, like, behind the scenes these things look like. Right?
We know behind the scenes for our two countries, which are very unique and completely different from the rest of the world. Completely different. I
think Piazza would not be a Superliga head coach and not an international head coach if he was taking direct. Like once again, like, as an international head coach, you don't get paid that much money.
Right, that's
right?
true.
So you're not getting paid peanuts to give away your summer to fly around the world to be a puppet for the national federation.
I think that is exactly what's happening here.
I think you're completely way off base on this.
Well,
and I think Piazza.
It doesn't matter because the results speak for themselves.
The results do. This Dutch team is boring to watch.
It's uninspired. Except when Namir does Namir stuff, it is spectacular to watch sometimes because he is that individually great. This team is uninspiring to watch, and I'm done talking about them because I want to talk about Serbia and I want to give them credit. Serbia actually played very well today. This is the best we've seen Drazen Ljuberic in a long time. This is the best we've seen Marko Ivovic in a long time.
We saw Antanasijevic crush a ball.
He did. They looked organized. They looked pretty physical. They looked relatively clean by their standards. Now, this was not a clean match of volleyball, and I think Serbia against the United States on Friday is going to struggle a lot.
They're going to have a rough time.
They're going to have a pretty rough time, but I talked to Marko Podraščanin. It was really good to hear from him, given the legend that he is. This team knows exactly what's on the line, and the result of this match, the fact not only that they won, but the fact they came back with that Peric service run to win it in 3. The world ranking point impact that had is massive because they got, I think, 8-ish points today. Cuba lost 8-ish points yesterday, losing to Canada in 4. And now they are separated. Yeah. Cuba's still in the lead, but Serbia is behind by only 5 points.
It's very similar to the women's side. It's very similar to the race between Canada and the Dutch, where Canada succeeded in the first week, and then, they kind of faltered in week number 2. Obviously, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with both Serbia and Cuba here, having only played 1 match each. But when you're looking at that Cuban squad and how they played last night against Canada, which should have been a game on their calendar as a must-win, and I think it was the same thing for Serbia. Even though the Dutch aren't necessarily as big within the race, like, they're still in that race, and it's important wins. And I think getting it cleanly done in that 3 sets was absolutely massive. Just like you said, it can't be understated how big that was for Serbia, and it may have kept their summer alive.
It very well may have. It was a complete must-win game. It was a quad-defining game, and they won 3-0. So Serbia is, as much as we kind of wrote them off a couple weeks ago just because they looked so bad on the eye test when they went to Turkey, but they are very much alive now. They are very much alive, and this race is definitely not over yet. I posted in the Discord earlier the schedule that Serbia and Cuba have the rest of the way. It's pretty much a toss-up, but remember, they do play each other. Match number 1 of week 3 in Slovenia.
That'll be the game. That'll be
a quad-defining game.
That'll be much like Canada versus Netherlands next week in
somewhere in Asia.
Japan.
It's either
Japan
or Hong Kong.
That game next week for Cuba and Serbia will be the game. And you know what? Like, this Serbian team, don't count them out. Like, this is a veteran team. They may not have the physicality and the athleticism that the Cuba does, but they've been there before.
Some of them have.
Some of them have, and they've won before. And also, like, when we're talking about legacy countries within volleyball, like Cuba and Serbia are up there with them. Like, when we're talking about a country that like is proud and wants to be at the Olympics, like you said.
For sure.
Serbia hasn't been there for over a decade, going back to 2012.
That's right. And Petroshin said it. And there was one other story that I thought was really cool, because we were talking to Katarina, or I was talking to Katarina right before you sat down right behind us earlier during the game. She was telling us about their libero, Vukasin Ristic, who wore number 6. I had never seen him before.
No.
I had never heard of him before. I didn't know who Serbia's libero was. This is his first start ever for the senior national team.
He was not bad tonight.
He was not bad at all. And their other libero, this guy named Kapoor, who I had like barely ever seen before, is like badly sick and back at the hotel and didn't even dress tonight. And this Ristic guy came in and hung in there pretty nicely, and for his first match ever. And Katarina was telling me how nervous he was, and how like kind of he was really feeling the heat of the spotlight. And I just thought that was a cool story, and kind of a wholesome moment for a guy to make his debut and come out with a 3-0 win.
I just said he did not bad, but then looking at his numbers, he was 19% and 6%. I mean, yeah, his reception numbers are pretty bad, and he was the libero. But hey, you got out there. Like, I think that's sometimes it's just a matter of getting out there and getting your licks in early.
Exactly.
You know, VNL is a beast. Playing on the first team is a beast, and it doesn't matter how good you are. Sometimes, like, not everyone can be Michieletto, where you're coming in at 18 years old and absolutely dominating. So yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit. But I do think that, like, who does Serbia have next? Who
the United States
on
Friday.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so Serbia has the day off tomorrow, then they have us.
Yeah.
And that's not going to go very well for them.
And then they're going to be playing Argentina on Sunday?
It'd be Argentina Saturday, and then Canada Sunday in the last match of the week.
Oh, okay, yes. Sorry, that's why.
The schedule is skewed.
Okay, I got you.
So it doesn't get any easier for Serbia at this point. But they have now put themselves in the race, and I think we can probably move on that note.
I will just say that I don't think Canada's ever beat Serbia in this building, and I'm feeling good about our prospects this week.
I agree.
Like that is going to be a fun one.
Canada looks like a significantly better team right now.
Moving forward to match number 2 tonight, and we were in for an absolute banger between two teams who have medal aspirations this summer. And it was, Rob, a back-and-forth match all the way through. Looking at the set scores here, 25-23 for France, 25-18 for Italy, 25-23 for France, 25-19 for Italy, and then 15-10 for France in the end, although it wasn't that close.
It wasn't.
They
jumped.
France
8-3 at the switch.
Yeah, France jumped out to an early lead. I think it was 5-1 at one point.
It was definitely 7-2 at one point.
Michieletto was really the only one playing for Italy in that fifth set. He got a few aces later on, but ultimately France is able to get a really clean win. Not clean, sorry, a really big win over an Italian team who has their entire roster. But in France, without Chinese, without Ngapeth, and without Boyer. I don't think Boyer is as big of a deal.
Yeah, I still don't think Boyer starts. I still think it's Patry, but 100%. we did see Toniutti play almost the whole game tonight.
He started every single set.
And he did, and Brizard came off the bench in double sub situations and blocking situations. But this was Italy's Olympic starting 7.
Yes.
It was Gianelli, it was Romano, it was Michieletto and Lavia, it was Galassi and Russo, and it was Balasso. That is Italy's Olympic starting 7.
And there's no one else to go to, really.
No, there's not. So they threw all the resources they had at the reigning Olympic gold medalists. This is a huge matchup. Reigning Olympic champs, reigning world champs. You know, the storylines write themselves. We were hoping it would be a banger. It was. And I think the level early was higher than any of the matches we've seen so far.
100%.
There were those guys were doing things. There were plays being made that elevated the level in this building compared to what we saw yesterday and earlier today, for sure.
It kind of reminded me about how good that top tier is, and that everyone else is just playing with smoke and mirrors to hoping to keep up with them. But when there's two teams who are that skilled and that physical and that athletic, and that technical and that well coached going toe to toe. It is a heavyweight haymaker fight. It's swing after swing, blow after blow, play after play, and the ball isn't dead until like the fat lady sings, right? Until that whistle goes.
The defense and the block coverage and the chase downs and the match had everything.
What was even bigger for me too is that we've seen these two teams play before 2 years ago here. But it was a full French team more or less than a B Italian team. But it was week 1. It was a different point in the quad, and it didn't have that intensity. Both teams wanted it tonight. They brought that intensity tonight, and they brought it out here for the Ottawa crowds. Like both teams left it all on the floor, and I think both teams have a lot of good things to take and go back home with. But man,
I have a couple takes though.
Go for it.
If there were people when I can't remember when was the first time that I put it on the record, but I've been pretty clear and pretty consistent about my opinion that there are 4 teams that can medal. Not that can medal. There are 4 teams that can win this Olympics on the men's side. It's Italy, it's France, it's the United States, and it's Poland. And until something else miraculous happens from like a Japan or a Canada or an Argentina I don't see it from those teams yet. There were people that told me that France had no chance. Yes, I fully agree with you that there's plenty of people in the Discord who seem to like underrate France. But even Tony Uti was saying that like tonight when I talked to him, that he was just like this is a big team and they're medal favorites just like the USA, just like Poland. And I was like I straight up told him it was like you,
like just like you. Like he gave me a wry little smile. Like I know the game he's playing, but like anyone at all thinks that this French team doesn't have the quality, nor the cohesiveness, nor the presence of mind to be able to win an Olympic Games at home in Paris and pull off something historic, be able to go back to back, I think you're absolutely ludicrous.
You're crazy.
Right? And like even if you want to go into how they bring in a 212 centimeter 18-year-old by the name of Joris Sedic, who was on the bench for Montpellier today, this dude is a future star. This dude is a future star. 7 for 10 tonight, 2 blocks and 2 aces.
And he came out and ripped 2 aces, I think, in a row in the first set on Alessandro Micheletto, the best player in the world.
Like, hey, if you're gonna go, like, let's just go after the biggest bull in the barn and see how you can ride him. Like, absolutely strap it. He did make 7 errors from the baseline.
That's okay.
You're 18 years old and you're 212 centimeters and you're serving like that. Rip away, buddy. If you can go 2 aces and 18 errors on 20 attempts, and I don't give a shit.
Second on the team in serving attempts. We like that stat.
That is another. We love serving attempts here. Big Sedic energy. I like that.
Yeah, Joris Sedic. Remember that name.
Remember the name.
Everett just interviewed him. We're gonna have this. We're gonna have that up on the channel after this. It was relatively brief. I give him a lot of credit for being willing to do that interview, mostly in English.
Yeah, I had to give him a bone and thank him in French at the end, just because.
Which was good. I'm glad you did that. But like, I'm excited that we're going to have that interview now for when he becomes a superstar next quad.
Absolutely.
Because, especially with the timing, too, because Legov, who he just played behind in Montpellier this year, is towards the very end of his career. But France now, with a kid like that, with that potential, him and Chinyeze for the next 10 years...
And Théophile, and Timothée Carl, and Bizarre, who's still young too. Like France,
Diaz really good young libero.
Diaz as well, dude. Absolutely. We're not even talking about Ibrahim Lawani, right?
Great point.
The French, like, people need to start putting respect on the French name and looking at the system that they have. Maybe the French league isn't the best, but the top French players are playing in all the top teams around, and like France, in my book, is a top volleyball nation, especially on the men's side.
100%. And they're going to put on a good show at home. It's going to be a different situation. The sort of the psychology of it is different, but the talent that they have is the same.
100%.
And it is literally the same. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if their Olympic 12 was literally the same 12 players as last time around. Like, that's actually possible.
Is it? Who else did they have
Same
on the
2
left side?
setters. It was Patry and Boyer, if Boyer gets back healthy. The 3 middles were Legov, Chinyeze, and Bultor, who maybe he's the 3rd guy again. The libero is Grebenikov. The outsides were Ngapet, Cleveno, Tilly, and Luati. Like, it could be the same 12 guys. The talent has not gone away. And we saw a lot of it tonight, and I was also blown away by watching Zhenya Grebenikov play in person for the first time. Oh my God. Just we've talked about it before. if you're a young libero trying to learn how to play the position, do not watch Janir Grebennikov.
No.
Don't do it. Do
watch
not
Shoji.
watch him.
Don't watch Grebennikov.
No, you can
Because
watch Fabio Balasso. Like,
dude, he's a blind man playing volleyball, right? And he's just going off vibes. You know, he is a bat with echolocation out there. That's the only way to put it, because he just makes digs and makes plays that don't make sense.
They don't make sense.
Don't make sense. Ozzy, real quick, is France better without Irvin? I think France is better without Irvin when they're undermanned. When they don't have their entire team, it's better that Irvin isn't there, because that's maybe when he starts getting a little squirrely. That's when he starts
like the only guy.
That's when he starts passing free balls to the middle of like the middle of the 1-2 seam and starts celebrating as he's making Brizard go chase it and Antoniuti go chase it down. You know, but when they have their team and he's the guy and he's locked in, you don't go with anyone else.
Right, and knowing that you can succeed without Irvin Ingapet is something that France has known for a long time. And is a really valuable piece of information and a lift to their confidence. And just like the style of French volleyball is beautiful, and the style of Italian volleyball is beautiful too. Mm-hmm. It's insanely high skill. Like I do have a bone to pick with this crowd, because it was a pretty good crowd tonight, but the dead silence when the ball is being served drives me insane. I do not like that. The one thing that it did allow is to hear, like you like to describe Italy as being quiet on the ball and their ball contact. You can when these people are so silent until stuff actually starts happening, you can literally hear the ball contact, and it's different with these two teams.
For sure. Like they're both real quiet on the ball, but Italy especially. I do think, Rob, that the silence comes from a lack of distinct crowd support. Most people were here tonight to watch volleyball.
That's right.
Right? They weren't necessarily cheering for any one team or another. They were here to watch volleyball. And it's hard. Like, you're not, when you're just there to watch volleyball, you're not going to be cheering during the serve. You're not going to be cheering in that kind of stuff. So I think that's maybe where the lack of crowd, because I do agree that the crowd was in it. And it was a decent crowd, especially for,
Wednesday night with no North American teams.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, that's where I think it comes from personally.
All right. I have a couple takes about Italy.
Go.
Italy's very good. They're an Olympic gold medal contender.
100%.
Their opposite position is a problem.
Big problem. When Romano is Romano,
is a problem.
It's a bad.
Yeah, he was Roma, yes, for about a set and a half there.
Yeah.
And then there was a sequence in the fourth set when he hit two really bad balls out of bounds in a row. Got benched for Bovalenta. He, of course, became Romano. And Bovalenta is a kid. Like we were talking earlier about the similarities between Bovalenta's and Romano's trajectories, having had impact on the national team before they even played in the Superliga. Mm-hmm. But and I liked Bovalenta in flashes tonight, but he's
got a long way.
He's got a long way to go. He's got a long way to go.
When you're talking about like prospects on the right side right now, Xander Kaczynski a little bit older with a little bit more experience, but I would almost go, like, it's hard because like Bovalenta's younger, but like I would almost go with Xander right now. You know it's bad when Romano is under Bovalenta in terms of efficiency, and Bovalenta's efficiency was 12%.
12% for Bovalenta, 4% for Romano. Like that's just not good enough.
That's just not good enough, especially in a big game. And we've talked about this time and time with Romano, is that it's all in his head. He needs that big game atmosphere, and we've seen him show up. When Italy wins big tournaments, it's because Romano shows up and has a match and is able to play. But tonight he wasn't there, and It's everyone in the world knows that Gianelli is going to set Micheletto and Lavia in the middles as much as possible right now with how inefficient. And the reality is that every other right side prospect right now is either shit at La Penali, or they're a young Bovalenta who is young, but you can tell he's 18 years old. He plays like an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he does. And if Italy is to win an Olympic gold medal somehow, it will be with a like Eurovolley 21 caliber Romano performance.
100%.
If Italy is to disappoint at the Olympics, it will be from a disappointing Romano performance, because like that position is just too important. We kind of saw it with Cuba last night. It wasn't because Michael Sanchez was bad. It was because he commanded no respect.
He wasn't a game changer.
He
wasn't even a game impactor.
He was not. He had no impact.
Right.
And if that half of the court has no impact, no matter how good Micheletto and Lavia are, which they are, a team with as good of system block and defense as France that doesn't have to worry about the block moving to their left at all to shut down a guy like Romano or whoever, it's just too easy for a team like that to take away a third of the court that they don't have to worry about anymore. It's just too important for a team like Italy to have Romano as a legitimate option and for him to command respect.
Yeah.
And tonight he did not. And they still took 2 sets. They played phenomenal volleyball at times. They were darn good from the service line at times, but the numbers were not good. 2 aces to 20 service errors.
That needs to be rectified.
That's quite bad.
Yeah.
But like they've got a lot of guys with the green light who, when they put balls in play, are pretty gnarly. The risk reward is not there right now. Their reception was fine. Their blocking was terrific. 12 stop blocks in 5 sets. Ginelli is a world class setter, but if they have a better serving game, maybe this match goes a little bit differently. But I'm concerned for Italy about Romano. I'm also concerned for Italy. Concerned because they play less than 24 hours from now against another Olympic gold medal contender in the United States. 4:30 p.m. tomorrow.
That's a very quick turnaround for Italy.
And they threw the Olympic starters out tonight, and they didn't get the benefit for it. So what are they going to do tomorrow?
Not only did they throw out the Olympic starters, but they had to go 5.
Exactly.
Right? So
5 sets of wear on the Olympic group.
And let's be honest, within the Olympic contenders, the Olympic medal contenders, Italy is the least deep. Italy has the least amount of depth. It is what you see. What you see is what you get. Right? Maybe in the middle position they have a little bit depth where you can go to Anzani. In the setter position they have a great amount of depth because no other team can go to a guy like Spertoli. But past Lavia and Micheletto, there's a big drop. Past Romano, there's a big drop there. Right? So if one of those 2 guys aren't having a game, or one of those 3 guys aren't having a game, that's a big issue for Italy. And not only that, but like this is a team that's ridden the same guys now for how long? Right, and these same guys are ridden for a long season in club as well too. They're going to have to play the entirety of the VNL. What's this team going to look like physically and mentally towards the end of the summer?
If Italy were to start 7 brand new guys tomorrow, I would not disagree with that choice. If they were to start Spertoli, Bovalenta, Recine, Luca Porro, whoever the other 2, Sanguinetti and Anzani, and then Lorenzano and Libero.
Oh, Sanguinetti's here.
He is. If they were to choose to do that, they would not beat the United States, but I would agree with the choice.
That was Italy's first loss.
It was.
Right? So now they're
still an Olympic gold medal contender.
Oh, without a doubt. I think there's 2 teams who are contenders with somewhat question marks, and that's France and Italy. And to me, there's 2 teams who are real contenders in the USA and Poland, who have very little question marks and a lot of depth. And it's just about how good are they going to be able to compete on a day or day in out. Right? Anyone past USA, Poland, and then USA. Let's be honest. Sorry.
Oh, for sure.
Everyone else has questions.
I agree. Yeah.
But has the ability to make a run,
answer them, and make a run.
A la Argentina 2021.
Exactly. I think that's an excellent take. So, up next for Italy is the United States tomorrow. Up next for France, I think they have a day off.
Someone said something. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, France has a day off, and then the Netherlands on Friday, which they should just completely stomp. That should be no problem for them. So, France looks real good, and they of all teams in the world have literally nothing to play for. They are the number 1 seed in the Olympic Games in Paris, no matter what. So France is in a very good spot. I just think that they wanted to throw out everything that they had tonight against a fellow medal contender, and they saw the results, and they beat a damn good team in 5. And we are all better for it, having watched that match, because that was very fun. Very fun.
Shout out to Holly Wong in our chat right now.
Holly,
we got a Holly Wong sighting in our chat right now, which is pretty great. Love to see that. Garrett and I shout out in the chat as well. So
Holly, you're awesome.
Yeah, sorry for breaking up your.
No, I liked that
your thing there. But is that it? Is that all we want to talk about today's matches here? There's only the 2 of them.
There were 2 games on the other side of the world.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on.
Germany without Grozer took 2 sets from Japan in Japan, which is actually pretty impressive.
And Slovenia continued their good play, and Turkey continues to lay eggs here in the VNL. And
if you would have told me that in week 2 there would only be 1 undefeated team in the tournament, I'd say okay. If you told me that only undefeated team in the tournament would be Slovenia, I would have been quite surprised. Now, I will say I wouldn't say they've played any great teams yet.
No, they
They
haven't.
beat the Netherlands in 5 in that crazy marathon. They beat France. That's a great win. They beat Canada in 5. They beat Poland 3-0 with Poland not having their guys, and then they beat Turkey. So those are better wins than I initially thought when I initially produced that take. But Slovenia is good. They're going to qualify for the Olympics. They deserve to qualify for the Olympics.
But
are they going to win the VNL? I don't know.
can we talk about these numbers? Look at these numbers here, Rob.
Turkey.
Mirza Lagumdzija, 7 for 29, 7 for 21, 29% efficiency.
Not great.
Adis Lagumdzija, 8 for 23, 13% efficiency.
Not
8 for
great.
23 with 5 errors. No aces, no blocks. Like, that's, like, they had Yanni Pazar as the starter instead of Arslanexi, but
That's
man, this Turkish team, I'm not even going to talk any shit to our Turkish fans anymore. I feel for you because I've been there.
Oh, dude,
right? Like it is.
You've kept saying it. VNL's hard.
VNL's hard.
VNL's hard.
It is one thing to beat up on teams in the Golden League and the Challenger Cup, and then go to the World Championships and have one good match. Then it's a completely other thing to travel around and play the VNL. And
the best teams in the world every single day in and day out.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It is hard. So welcome. You haven't really joined us yet. Remember, I think the only set you've won, I decided to have a nap because I knew we were going to be able to come back and beat you. But ultimately, like, whereas when Canada was really struggling 2 years ago, I was really worried. I was like, I don't know what's up next. But when you look at the talent on this Turkish squad, it really is okay, what is going on? Because there's too much talent here to be having the terrible results that they have so far.
I agree.
Especially last week when they're losing to the USA C or D team at home.
Yeah, unacceptable.
Yeah.
So they've got to figure it out. But somehow it keeps happening. Tunchek Stern put
53% efficiency
and 22 points total in 3
Gross.
sets. That's over 7 points a set.
Remember when he led the Super League in scoring for Padova that one year, and we kind of just writ it off as like a whole bunch of volume.
High
and
volume,
then
low
he really
efficiency.
wasn't like used all that much for the Slovenian team, and now he's their golden star. I love a story like that.
Good story.
Great story.
Slovenia looks good. I really wish I could see them in person. And
one of the few teams, Rob, by now I've still never seen them play in person.
Same.
Slovenia, Iran, and Japan.
Yeah, you're right.
Other than that, and Russia, but that doesn't really count.
I have seen Russia play in person.
True,
VNL final in Chicago in 2019. And actually, I have seen Iran play in person.
True.
But back in Chicago a few times. But I haven't seen Japan. I haven't seen Slovenia. And Slovenia is good. Their issue is depth for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to get Rok Mozic back at home in Ljubljana next week. At least we think. So
that's another thing that didn't even touch that like Slovenia's 5-0 without the Rock.
Yep.
Like that is filthy. Reminding me of like Poland on the women's side right now, where they're just able to.
It is similar to that.
Plow teams like that like middling team that's really looking to inject themselves in the elite. And I mean, you are looking at two teams at the different parts of their trajectory. I think Slovenia is really at the end of a golden generation, and I don't know if they're going to dip because they do have international talent like the Rok Mozic, but you don't see that depth with guys like Ernhout and Chebul and the Stearns and Ropret and whatever. All these things, but
Polish women are still on their way up.
The Polish women are very much on their way
up.
But like
in the example of this year, I think that's an excellent comparison.
Yeah.
I think it's an excellent comparison. So good for Slovenia, bad for Turkey. I figured it out. Germany, without Grozer, who they brought this week but dressed as a libero, so I honestly don't know what he's doing there, all the way on the other side of the world. They took a good Japanese team with all their starters to 5, and Moritz Karlitzek. Moritz Karlitzek at opposite put up 27.
That's gross.
He's not even an opposite.
22 for 42 with 2 blocks and 3 aces.
And where did Tobias Brand learn how to be so good at volleyball?
Bro, this dude came because he played for Lublin this year, and I remember.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember like watching him randomly, and I think I messaged you, and I was like, "Bro, where did Tobias Brand come from? Like, during such a middle of the pack club, and then they've just been like so comfortable being just like." mediocre in the Bundesliga, and then Tobias Brahn comes out and absolutely has been balling out in 2024. Like, once again, just leading this team really well. 21 for 33, 55% efficiency.
That's incredible.
His passing numbers are unreal, too. Look at the volume he's getting. 39 targets on 54% positive, 31% perfect, with 4 aces on 4 errors. This dude is absolutely lighting up the balance sheet right now for Germany. And, Rob, I have to wonder that there must be an injury with Grosjean. There's no way you bring him for him to dress as a libero if he didn't get injured in the process.
So I don't know about that. I definitely agree that bringing him makes no sense if you're not going to play him.
No.
So hopefully we see him later in the week. Otherwise, we might have to start speculating about something like that. But I've kind of forgotten about Germany because they made that miracle run at Olympic qualifiers where Grosjean had the tournament of a lifetime, and then I just kind of assumed this VNL that we weren't going to see him, and therefore Germany was going to be kind of irrelevant. They were going to float in the Olympics. I've honestly haven't had them on my radar. Shame on me. This team is better and has more pieces around Grosjean than I thought. Germany right now is what the Netherlands wishes they were.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But I think, I don't know. We saw Germany play against Brazil the other night. We watched them for 2 seconds, and we were bored to tears.
Yeah, it was a horrendous
right?
game.
So I think that Germany potentially matches up really well with Japan because Germany is a very systematic-based team. Right, they're very technical in their approach,
classic
and
German
it's
culture,
very German, right?
Very,
and then when you're
very
looking
mechanical,
and then when you're looking at Japan's not as mechanical, but still very system based, right? And Japan can beats teams by outlasting teams. Germany is really good at outlasting teams. That's what was really good about them at the Olympic qualifier because you've got a bunch of dudes who know how to ball and. Also, remember, Germany plays fast because of Johannes Tila.
That's right.
And they're used to that fast offense from Japan.
We'll say it was Kampa this game. Kampa set this whole game and clearly did an excellent job.
100%. But I'm just saying they're
the same.
They're used to seeing that fastball offense, especially in practice. That's maybe not the same, but similar. So I just think that this one is potentially a matchup nightmare. But it just is a reminder that once Grosjean is injected into this lineup, that Germany is a
danger.
Stranger danger for sure.
Also, they had 10 aces to 20 service errors. 1-2 in 5 sets. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Japan started everybody. Now they brought Yamauchi off the bench, but by the end of the match they had everybody in. Good balance. Ishikawa 21, Nishida 21, Takahashi 16. Pretty good numbers across the board. They hit 48% efficiency as a team and needed 5 to beat Germany at home without Grosjean. So I don't really know what to make of that because I didn't watch the match. But
to me, when you look at the passing numbers, especially only 18% perfect is low.
Yeah,
on the Japan side.
So it must have been just an incredible serving game from Germany.
And I mean, it was 10 aces. Kind of shows that.
Yeah.
Not only 10 aces, but Germany outpassed Japan like significantly when you look at the passing numbers.
That is weird.
52% positive to 27% perfect, as opposed to 45% positive to 18% perfect.
Hey,
right?
Everett, would you believe me if I told you that that Brazil already destroyed Iran in the first set?
No, I mean, yeah, it's been 27 minutes since that match started, so
no surprise there at all. The last thing we definitely have to talk about is a great point by Ann in the chat. The United States women's volleyball team announced their Olympic roster today.
Do we want to do this now, or do we want to do this at a separate time?
I want to do it now, and then I'll make a video about it later.
Okay.
The United States women's volleyball team announced their Olympic roster today. I made my wild guesses on our show here 2 nights ago,
and you were kind of wrong.
I was
mostly right.
I was mostly right. I got a couple wrong. That's okay. The one thing I was wrong about was the backup setter. It is Lauren Carlini, and Jordan Poulter.
Can we talk about Lauren? Because
we can. Let me just read it down first, and then we can go into it. So the 2 setters are Jordan Poulter and Lauren Carlini.
Yep.
The 2 opposites are Jordan Thompson and Annie Drews.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 middle blockers are Dana Retke, Chaka Bogu, and Haley Washington.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 libero is Justine Wong-Arantes, of course. And the 4 outside hitters are Kelsey Robinson-Cook, Jordan Larson, Catherine Plummer, and Avery Skinner.
All right.
So I was right about those 4. I wasn't sure about second opposite, if Annie was healthy, or if they were going to bring Khalil Lanier, who's kind of a hybrid. And then I wasn't sure about second setter.
Do you want to discuss this now, or are you just going to discuss it later on?
Let's do it now.
All right.
Let's do it now.
Okay. Are you surprised? I think it's the Carlini choice is an interesting one, You thought, like, picking Annie Drew, someone who's been there before with that team, to me makes sense. But Carlini has just seemed to not mesh with this team a few times. And they've gone away from her more than a few times. So it just seems like an odd decision to me.
The reason why I didn't expect her to make the team is not only was she not included in the Arlington roster, but Micah Hancock was the captain on that team.
Yeah.
I brought that up the other night, and like, you don't just give away the bar randomly, especially if you're Karch Kirai. Like, that's a very out of character for him to not be really calculated about a choice like that. So I know that program has buy-in at all levels, because they actually named 5 alternates instead of just 1. They have an alternate now at every position, which I actually really like, because now it's more role clarity as they go forward through the process. But I'm definitely surprised by Carlini, especially because I don't think she plays well off the bench. Mm-hmm. I think that Carlini is at her best when she's the girl, when she starts and has the ball in her hands all the time. But this is Jordan Poulter's team.
I'm wondering if they were more worried about, because I think that Micah Hancock may be a better volleyball player overall than Carlini, but I don't know if she's necessarily a better setter than Carlini.
I definitely agree with that.
And my wonder is if they were too worried about Poulter's longevity and health, that they were worried that she might break down at a certain point and need Carlini to be the guy or the girl. With a woman.
That actually makes a lot of sense to me.
That to me is...
Because I agree. Micah Hancock is a damn good volleyball player and is clearly a really good locker room piece. She has a vicious serve, which for some reason I haven't seen Team USA use enough. But you're right. Knowing Jordan Poulter, where she is at in her recovery from a major knee injury, maybe that is something that they need, is somebody who is more likely to play full-time setter minutes. Whereas in Tokyo, Hancock only came in. Well, Poulter got hurt in that Olympics. Hancock came in, played great, got Poulter back for the gold medal match. But that was not the plan, and it wasn't even the plan to run a 6-2 at all. The plan was to have Hancock come in and serve and set very rarely. So that actually does make a little bit of sense. The other two kind of wild cards are Annie Drews and Kelsey Robinson-Cook, and clearly the program has seen enough from those two players and understands the trajectory of their recoveries well enough to name them to the roster, because we haven't seen them at all. I
mean, Annie Drews to me is a little bit more. I think that if there was someone else who could step in as a true opposite in that position, that they would have potentially gone with them.
But we don't have one of those.
But there isn't one. Whereas Kelsey Robinson-Cook to me is a no-brainer.
100%
is an absolute no-brainer. Like, if you are if you're Karch and you watch the way that Kelsey Robinson-Cook has played over the past 3 years for the best club team in the world, and consistently done there's no brainer whatsoever.
Yeah. And so
Ozzy in the chat right now is saying Kelsey should go into Fukuoka working on shoulder issues.
So she's going week 3. That's cool. That's good to hear. And there was a lot of chatter in the Discord today about the other outside hitters. People were saying that Catherine Plummer wasn't a lock. Those people are insane.
You're stupid.
Those people are insane.
You're stupid.
You're insane. You clearly haven't watched any of our stuff. You clearly didn't watch my interview with Karch, where he spoke so highly of Catherine Plummer and the club season that she had, playing next to Kelsey Robinson, winning more titles than they lost matches in Conegliano. We also heard him say how highly he valued and how much input he took from players' club seasons.
And I've talked about it before. I have been a Catherine Plummer hater consistently at the end of the season. Critic, not a hater. I'm not out there talking shit about her, but it's been like, hey, she isn't getting the job done in the gut check time. This year she did.
I agree.
This year she did consistently. This year she was dominant, right? I think Catherine Plummer, she's really gone through it, I think, a little bit, and I think it's one thing and it's so tough sometimes, I think, when you come out of the NCAA and you're so lauded. And you're so recognized, and you're understood as kind of the next big thing, and it's a little bit like we're seeing in the WNBA right now with the girls who going in and they're like, hey, this ain't no joke. It's the same thing when we saw it with Dana Rettke as well. She had a bit of an impact when she started with Malonza, and then it took a little bit of time to her to get back to be a starting position. That it is difficult to be a professional volleyball player at that high level, and there's a lot of things that you need to get used to from the NCAA, as good as it is and as amazing of a product it is when you're going to play with the top teams.
It's a developmental league at the end of the day.
It is still a developmental league. And as great as it is, there's still some stuff. And we're seeing Plumbers process through that. And I think right now you're seeing her come out the other sides of the Mines of Moria. And maybe she's missing one less Gandalf, but she's got a hell of a lot of experience on her side now.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I just like the versatility and the well-roundedness of this 4 outside hitter group. I think Kelsey Robinson and Jordan Larson are similar players at this point in their careers. They both have elite level ball control skill. Larson is one of the smartest volleyball players of all time.
Bro, she was dropping 20 plus points.
And her offensive game looks real good right about now.
Still got it.
And then I really agree with the Avery Skinner pick. People, I like Avery Skinner better than Ali Franti at this point for the role that she's going to play. Skinner is the 4th outside hitter on this list. She will never start a match.
You need a spark plug off the bench.
That's right.
And we saw Skinner be exactly, not necessarily that, but she played some time coming off the bench for, what was that team that I really liked this year? Chieri.
Yep.
I loved Skinner this year for Chieri, and her ability to start, her ability to come off the bench and kind of impact at any point. She's fast, she's physical, she's athletic, and she's confident.
And when I saw week 1, when we brought a mixed group over to week 1 in VNL, and Avery Skinner both started and came off the bench, every time she was inserted into a game, the game kind of changed, and I was like, oh, something's different here. Yeah. Something's going on here. Like there's an energy shift here, and we even saw it in Arlington. Like you and I didn't see it in person because the Canada game, like the 2 starting outside hitters were so good. But then later in the week, we saw Skinner a fair bit when we were watching from afar, and I really liked the pick a lot.
Yeah,
and
I think there's going to be a time in the future, and not a far off future, where we're going to see 2 Skinners on the starting lineup
100%.
for the women's national team.
I agree with that.
For the U.S. women's national team.
I really like this roster a lot, and I like now. I know that I think there was a deadline from the U.S. Olympic Committee, not USA Volleyball, but like above that kind of forced Karch to name it now, because I think he still would have appreciated more like data of looking at players in a USA jersey in competition. But this is what we have right now. This is the calendar we're working with, and this is the team. Now we can move forward with clarity. Karch was quoted in the USA V press release and the Volleyball magazine release about obviously it's a bittersweet moment. It's going to be bittersweet for all these coaches and all these teams, because you have a group of players that is so much bigger than 12 that has helped you get to this point, but only 12 can go, and that sucks. But now the sweet part is that you pick this roster with confidence, can move forward with clarity, and the 5 alternates that we named, who, by the way, are Morgan Hentz at libero, Micah Hancock at setter, Khalil Lanier as sort of the hybrid wing, Ali Franti at outside, and Anna Stevenson Hall in the middle. Those are the 5 alternates. We don't know who the official 13th Olympian will be. But those players now have their role defined as well, and can continue to do their jobs in the gym and in training and be ready at a moment's notice if something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think one of the benefits, too, is that when you go back to 2021, where you had to tell people in the bubble at Rimini,
that was brutal.
Tough.
That was so brutal.
Right, where those athletes had to have their hopes and dreams dashed. To be honest, that killed Ben Patch, right?
Literally ended his career.
We're literally I think we need to have a conversation, like a 30 for 30 piece, on what happens if that decision is made in Anaheim as opposed to in Italy, where you have to then now leave the team that you've been living and breathing with for however long and take a 6, 7, 8 hour flight back home across the Atlantic after one of the most disappointing news of your life. So I think it's massive for the U.S. team to have been able to have done this at home, right? And now it's to all those other girls, thank you very much for all of your help, and you can go have the rest of the summer off now. Go enjoy California. Go back home and see stuff. But I think it's a much better position to be in for any team to be able to announce it at home as opposed to on the road in the bubble.
Excellent point. The bubble was especially brutal. Man, the psychological impact on some of those athletes would have been just brutal. So that's the USA Women's Olympic team. There are now, of the 24 Olympic teams, only 2 have been named. Both of them are American. But I
think that's something you guys need to take to the American Olympic Committee, because hey, you guys that's a tough situation for those coaches to be in.
Sparrow did it by choice.
True.
And he preferred to do it that way. I think Karch felt like his hand was forced and he was rushed a little bit, but I like it. We're going forward with clarity, and I think the floodgates are going to open, and we're going to start learning about a lot of other 12-player Olympic teams, both the men's and the women's sides, real soon.
Devin,
real soon.
Devin, you're a slacker, okay? We saw you sitting down here at the beginning of this podcast, not paying attention to any meetings, just like he just comes here and gets the Volleyball Canada a volunteer shirt and just does whatever he wants and just posts on Instagram and then gets to go home with his mom to the hotel.
Tough, dude.
Well,
Ouch.
the rest of us are here doing work, right? Shout out to Devin, though.
Shout out to Devin. Devin's a homie. Shout out to all y'all who have come and said hi to us and have like just interacted with us here in Ottawa. It's been really cool. We've seen a lot of people, including our new Cuban friend Hilaire, who messaged you earlier that he has a gift for you as a.
Hilaire, I've got a gift for you too, buddy. Yes. Don't worry. That's much love. 0 to 100, who's been in the chat a lot, is Lewis, who came here all the way from Florida to watch this week. He's here for the entirety of the week. I was chilling with him. As I was sneaking something out of my bag earlier. And
our boy Marcus is in the chat now, too. He's back at home at our Airbnb.
Marcus, are you going to tag us and shit from now on? Or like, what's going on? We bring these kids to come work for us and experience VNL, and they're shooting all this BTS stuff from us, and then don't even tag us.
It was funny.
Goodness. This is why we gave you the bunk beds.
Oh man, what a week it's been. Speaking of the bunk beds and our Airbnb, we got to go back. We got some stuff there waiting for us, and
it's here technically.
And there might even be stuff there waiting for y'all.
We'll see.
I'm
tired.
Same. We love you. Thanks for watching.
What do you mean?
We love you. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. 3 matches tomorrow. This is when it gets interesting.
What matches do we have tomorrow?
Cuba versus the Netherlands is first.
Oh.
The United States versus Italy is second.
Oh.
And Canada versus Argentina is third.
Oh.
That's right. So it's going to be a fun day. We'll be back tomorrow night, of course, right here. You know the place.
But that first game's at 11 a.m.
Yeah,
that
it's tough.
Sucks.
It's tough. We'll do our best. I got some interviews to upload. We got some beverages to enjoy. We love you. Thanks for joining us.
Peace.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.